Hi everybody, this is me, Roger Aladdin Daltrey, and today I'm going to do yous another video. Now, I was supposed to do this video on Tuesday, but again, I wasn't here, so I'm going to do it today. Because this is for a 1-year anniversary tribute video for Tom Petty, who died on Tuesday last year, and I seriously cannot believe that it has been a year already since he has left us. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to do a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers discography review. But this will only be a partial discography review because I'm only a fan of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers up until the Wildflowers album. Because when Stan Lynch left the band, I lost all interest in them. But if you guys like some of the albums after Stan Lynch left, that's fine. It's just, it doesn't satisfy me as much because remember, a band can only exist with its original lineup, or at least during the successful period, and at least for albums being performed as part of the classic album at midnight on Radio Nova, which is only in Dublin, Kildare, Meath and Wicklow. So anyway, let's get started on this Petty and the Heartbreakers discography review, and this will also include Full Moon Fever and Wildflowers. Okay, so here we go, and I would also love your thoughts on the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers discography, if you can, in the comment section below. And before we start this video, I'm just going to remind you there might be a bit of hoovering downstairs, but I don't know. So if it is, I might have to speak a bit louder. So anyway, here we go. 1976, the self-titled debut of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And this is one of my favourite 70s debut albums of all time, along with John Lennon Plastic Ono Band, Paul McCartney, ZZ Top's first album, the debut albums of Roxy Music, Blue Oyster Cult, Aerosmith, Kiss, Foreigner, The Cars, Van Halen, and quite possibly and of course The Police, Outlandish to More, and of course Aladdin's 1973 self-titled record with the two Leo Sayer covers of One Man Band Giving It All Away. And then, just speaking of which, Leo Sayer's Silverbird. They're probably my favourite 70s debut albums. And this is one of them. Okay. And my favourite song on this album is, of course, American Girl, which in my opinion is a bit of a rip-off to the Byrds version of Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man on their 1965 self-titled debut. And the American Girl is also like saying Cinnamon Girl, which is a song titled by Neil Young from 1969's Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. And of course, Shrek does a cover of that on his 1971 record, Smash Your Head Against the Wall, which was just before he and Aladdin, Homer and Wallace reunited to record Who's Next. Because again, Shrek is the man on the bass, Wallace is the man on the drums, Homer is the man on guitar, and Aladdin is the man on vocals and of everything. It's insane. Because AHSW, the best band ever. And yeah, the American Girl is so great. American Girl was often the song that closed Petty and the Heartbreakers concerts, including the final concert as well. And with American Girl, you could also say My Girl, which is a song titled by Aerosmith from 1989's Pump, and also by The Temptations. On their 1965 record, Temptations sings Smokey, because Smokey Robinson wrote all the Temptations hits. And it's been a song title for other ones as well. I can't remember at the moment, but I'll let you know. And then Girl on its own is a song titled by the Beatles from 1965's Rubber Soul, which is definitely one of the best albums of all time in my opinion. So yeah, American Girl is my favourite. And for a least favourite, before I get on, my second favourite though would be anything that's rock and roll. Because I just love the music to it. And Tom Petty's voice in my opinion is very flamboyant on that song. And Rock and Roll on its own is an album titled by John Lennon from 1975, and the song titles by Led Zeppelin from Zeppelin 4, Status Quo from Just Supposin', then you could say Rock and Roll Soul by Grand Funk Railroad on 1972's Phoenix, or even Rock and Roll Suicide by David Bowie from 1972's Ziggy Stardust. And it's also a rock and roll, and there are some other rock and roll. Oh yeah, Rock and Roll Over, album titled by Kiss, And recently I just read that Kiss are doing an End of the Road tour for 2019, and it will likely be the last tour that they ever do as a band, and Monster is likely to be the last album that Kiss ever record. By the way, my Hoover is just on downstairs, so just wanted to remind you all that. And so Monster is likely to be Kiss's last album. And I don't have it in my album collection one, but when I do get it, I'll then hopefully do a Kiss tribute video for all their albums. So yeah, that's with rock and roll. And for my least favourite on here, it's probably Hometown Blues. But I mean, the blues is just great. And then other songs on here like include, Breakdown is still really good. Rockin' Around With You is awesome. And With You on its own is a song titled by Lou Reed from 1979's The Bells. And then Rockin' Around, you could also say Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, which I don't know who had that one on Christmas FM. I'll need to look at it again and reevaluate it. Or even thinking about Rockin' Around, you could say Rock Around the Clock, which is a song titled by Bill Haley and his Comets. And that was probably the first major rock and roll hit, which came out in 1954, because rock and roll first emerged in 1954, in my opinion. And Rockin' Around, it's a pretty good tune, actually, and basically Rock Around the Clock is a line mentioned in the Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, from 1989 Stormfront, produced by Mick Jones, a foreigner, not to be confused with Mick Jones from The Clash. So yeah, I like the Wild One forever as well. Wild One is a song titled by Thin Lizzy from 1975's Fighting, which, when I was a Thin Lizzy fan at the time, it was one of my favourite Thin Lizzy albums, but now that's just an okay album. And then Forever on Its Own is a song titled by Kiss from 1989's Hot in the Shade. And then we have Mystery Man as well. Mystery Man is also like saying Mystery Train, which is a song titled by Elvis. And of course, Neil Young does a cover of that on his 1983 record, Everybody's Rockin'. And yeah, it's a pretty good song. And Mystery Train was also covered by the band on 1973's Moondog Matinee, which is pretty good. Then we have Stranger in the Night, which is basically like saying Strangers in the Night, which is an album title by UFO, and it's a live album, actually. And then In the Night we get Thief in the Night, which is a song titled by Kiss on 1987's Crazy Nights, and by the Rolling Stones on 1997's Bridges to Babylon. And then with Fooled Again, I Don't Like It, Fooled Again, we could have Won't Get Fooled Again, which is a song titled by AHSW on 1971's Who's Next. I mean, great tune that is, and Aladdin's scream going, "Hey!" It's just brilliant. It sends chills up and down your spine when you hear Aladdin screaming and then Homer sliding on his knees during concerts. I mean, yeah, it's just great. So yeah, and Stan Lynch plays the keyboards on Luna as well. So yeah, just to recap, my favourite song is American Girl and my least favourite is Hometown Blues. But with Hometown, you could also say My Hometown, which is a song titled by Bruce Springsteen on 1984's Born in the USA. And yeah, I give this record a 10 out of 10. So I'll just put it over here, because I'm not going to put it back in my CD rack, because it'll just only cause distraction, in my opinion. Okay. 1978, You're Gonna Get It, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. And this album came out around the same time as Bruce Springsteen's Darkest in the Edge of Town and Peter Gabriel 2 by Peter Gabriel, or commonly known as Scratch, or what I tend to recall as the Red Album. I'll show you, if I can find it, if I can get it out of my CD collection, Peter Gabriel 2. See the difference? You can see that it's all red. Right. Sorry, I just got up from my seat because I know it'll just cause distraction with the chair behind. Okay. I mean, I love the cover. This is probably my favourite album cover of the first three, in my opinion. Okay, and my favourite song on this album is Restless, because I just love the music. And there goes my Hoover again. Restless is so great, and Restless, you could say Restless Farewell, which is a song titled by Bob Dylan from 1964's The Times They Are Changing. And, or even Restless Years by Leo Sayer from 2015. It's the only album I don't have in my album collection, but I don't know if I'm going to buy that record or not. I mean, like, I have his whole, I have the whole Leo Sayer collection now, but I still only like his first 9 or 10 albums. But I mean, Cool Touch is a great record. And some of the songs on Voice in My Head is pretty good as well. It's just, I'm a bigger fan of 1973 to 1982 the most for Leo Sayer. Yeah. So I like Restless, but a close second though for me would be Magnolia, because of the music. And When the Time Comes is pretty good as well, and the title track is great. And Listen to Her Heart is a bit of a similar title of Listen to My Heart, which is a song titled by the Ramones on their 1976 self-titled debut, which Rolling Stone magazine ranks as the 33rd greatest album of all time, and probably second only to The Clash London Calling as the greatest punk album of all time. So yeah, my least favourite on this album is probably Hurt. And Hurt is also a song titled by Nine Inch Nails, which was also famously covered by Johnny Cash, who also covered Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus. And it's a pretty good record, and with Baby's a Rock and Roller, if you take out a rock and roller, we can have In Black and call it Babies in Black, which is a song titled by the Beatles on 1964's Beatles for Sale. And I give this record a 9 out of 10. I don't enjoy it as much as the debut album, but it's still enjoyable at times, that one. However, big record, 1979, Damn the Torpedoes. I mean, what an album this is. And by the way, I'm just fixing the thing in here because I know it's going to fall out, because if I open it up like that, the disc would only fall. Anyway, my favourite song on this record is of course Refugee, because it's such a classic number. And this album I heard in a radio advertisement was going to be performed on Radio Nova as part of the classic album at midnight. And I had heard the advertisements for Nirvana's Nevermind and Led Zeppelin's Zeppelin 4. And last night I looked on Radio Nova's website of the what do you call it? Oh yeah, I heard it on the. I read its website and looked at all the different albums as well, all the classic records as well. So I like Refugee. I do think Here Comes My Girl is pretty good as well, and I already referenced My Girl already. And I forgot to mention, it could also be like saying Hey Girl, which was a Temptation song, and I think Billy Joel covered it as well. And then with Here Comes My Girl, you could say something like Here Comes the Sun, which is a song titled by the Beatles from 1969's Abbey Road. And that is probably my favourite George Harrison song of all time. Well, definitely my favourite George Harrison Beatles song. But my favourite solo song of his is easily Got My Mind Set on You from 1987's Cloud 9. And yeah, it's pretty good. I also think You Tell Me is an excellent song. Tell Me on its own is a song titled by Bob Dylan which was recorded during the sessions of Infidels. And I think that should have been on the Infidels album as well as Foot of Pride. I wouldn't be too sure about Blind Willie McTell, but I still think it's an excellent song. And it's definitely a song that equals perfection. And Louisiana Rain is... my least favourite though on here is probably Louisiana Rain. And then, as I said, Rain on its own is a song titled by Status Quo from 1976's Blue for You, and a song titled by Kiss on 1997's Carnival of Souls, and even by the Beatles on the Past Masters compilation. But it was recorded during the Revolver sessions. And the What Are You Doing in My Life, the In My Life on its own, is a song titled by Barclay James Harvest from 1975's Time Honored Ghosts, also a Beatles song from Rubber Soul, and Rod Stewart covered it on the 1986 record Every Beat of My Heart, and In My Life also a song titled by Leo Sayer from 1974's Just a Boy. And then What Are You Doing? It's a bit like saying What You're Doing, which is also a Beatles song on Beatles for Sale. And I also do like, of course, Don't Do Me Like That, and it's a really amazing tune. And I recently heard someone do a drum cover of that on a YouTube channel to basically pay tribute for Tom Petty. And what I like, I'll just say the back first. What I like the most on the back is basically the band members' names and pictures of the members as well. And what I like most about Century City is basically the opening drum beat by Stan Lynch, and basically I think it's either the keyboards by Ben Montaigne, or the guitar playing by Mike Campbell. I'm not sure which one it is between those two, because I at least listen to that song again and just reevaluate it. And I somewhat like Shadow of a Doubt. And Shadow of Doubt is an episode title on the Aladdin TV show, and it's one of my favourite episodes on that show. Episode 46 on the show as well. Because once again, greatest TV show ever of all time. So yeah, just to recap, Refugee is my favourite on here, with a close second of Here Comes My Girl, and maybe a close third of You Tell Me. And one thing I've got to say about You Tell Me is that if you want to tell it in past tense, you could say You Told Me. And You Told Me is a song title by the Monkees from 1967's Headquarters. My favourite Monkees album. My least favourite on here, as I said, is Louisiana Rain because of the opening. Doesn't really satisfy me as much. And I give this record a 10 out of 10, easily. Okay, so we left the 70s behind, and basically what I like most about the 70s Penny and the Heartbreakers is that it is very distinction and very heartland rock, and all the 80s are very heartland rock as well. And one example includes 1981's Hard Promises. A great follow-up record in my opinion. And my favourite song on this is, of course, The Waiting. And with waiting references, we could say Waiting for the Right Time by Barclay James Harvest from 1983's Ring of Changes. Or even Waiting for the Miracle by Leonard Cohen from 1992's The Future. And it's just a great tune. I like A Woman in Love, and that's a really good tune. And in brackets says, It's Not Me, and It's Not Me is kind of saying, That's Not Me, which is a song titled by the Beach Boys from 1966's Pet Sounds, which was second only to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as Rolling Stone's greatest album of all time. And The Night Watchman, I think, is a really good song as well, and the drums on that are amazing. I heard some of those in the Running Down a Dream documentary as well, when they were talking about Ron Blair leaving the band, because this was the last album with Ron Blair before he left. And The Night Watchman is basically a line mentioned in the Bob Dylan song Visions of Johanna from 1966's Blonde on Blonde. And Bono of U2 quoted that outside Grafton Street as well. When I was down on Grafton Street one time in Dublin, I saw the members of U2 writing the name, basically their name and then their inspiration. Bono did Visions of Johanna from Bob Dylan. The Edge did Anthem by Leonard Cohen on The Future. And Adam Clayton, the bass player, did that Arctic Monkeys song. I forget what it was, but it had the opening lyrics of, There's a great band out there. And then, of course, Larry Mullen Jr., the drummer, did the Ramones' Rockaway Beach from 1977's Rockets of Russia. So yeah, I like, of course, I think my second favourite on here is probably Letting You Go, because it's so great. And Letting You Go could also be like saying, Let Go, which is a song titled by Blue Oyster Cult on 1983's The Revolution by Night. And I like the one that Stevie Nicks plays on here called Insider, which is a bit of a similar title of Exciter, which is a song titled by Kiss on 1983's Lick It Up. And You Can Still Change Your Mind is quite good, and basically it's nearly like saying, I'm always here if you change your mind, which is a line mentioned in Can't Stop Loving You, recorded famously by Leo Sayer on his 1978 self-titled album. And once again, there goes my Hoover. Sorry, just my Hoover is going on too much. And then, of course, covered by Phil Collins on 2002's Testify. Which again, because I'm the biggest fan of the Testify album, I still am. And of course, I'm the biggest fan of Phil Collins as well, and I still am, because he is one of my music heroes, along with Paul Stanley, Booker T. Jones, Bob Dylan, of course. I can't have a music hero without Bob Dylan. And David Bowie, Davy Jones from the Monkees, Paul Williams of Temptations, Eric Bloom of Blue Oyster Cult, John Lees of Barclay James Harvest, Brian Ferry, of course, because Brian Ferry is one artist I've been into a lot this year. Since I now have all of Rock's music albums, I'm going to get Brian Ferry's solo albums as well. Then, of course, Lou Gramm from Foreigner, and then, of course, Aladdin of AHSW as my main hero. So yeah. And Tom Petty would probably be my second bunch of heroes. Like, basically my second place heroes. And the other ones with Tom Petty would include Rod Stewart, Steve Howe from Yes, Bruce Springsteen, Eddie Kendricks of Temptations, Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, Paul Simon of course, Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, Mark Farner of Grand Funk Railroad, and probably Chris Stein from Blondie. So yeah, my least favorite on here is probably, I'm not so sure, maybe The Criminal Kind, but it's still a good song. And I do like A Thing About You as well. It's just a great song. And I give this record a 9 out of 10. Okay, so now, lineup change. All change. It's Ron Blair out. Howie Epstein in. There he is right there. And Howie Epstein first joined the Heartbreakers, and he actually was performing with Del Shannon, who had, of course, the hit single Runaway. And Runaway is a song titled by Status Quo on 1979's Whatever You Want. And basically, Del Shannon was furious at Tom Petty by saying, just don't take Howie. He's the guy I count on. He runs my band. Like, you're my friend. How can you do that? You can have anybody you want. Don't take Howie. And then Tom said, Del, you're my friend. I'm taking Howie. And then he got over it, sort of. And basically, Howie Epstein did say that he did like the band as well, and he turned out to be Ben Montaigne's best friend in the band. So anyway, my favourite song, when I did that tribute video for Tom Petty last year, I only just got this album in the mail, so after listening to it for 1 year now, I can tell you, this is actually a great record. My favourite song on this album is probably A One Story Town, because it's so great. But a close second, though, was probably A Wasted Life. And A Wasted Life is basically like a life being wasted. So, like, for example, Michael McIntyre did a joke about people having the same name but spelled completely differently, and he said it was a complete waste of your life. So yeah, I like that song a lot. I also like You Got Lucky because I like the keyboards by Ben Montagne, and You Got Lucky could also be like saying Get Lucky, which is an album title by Mark Knopfler. I mean, Mark Knopfler is a very talented guy, and I'm actually very excited about him now because he's bringing out a new solo album called Down the Road Wherever, which will be released in November. And of course, Rod Stewart had released a new album out called Blood Red Roses, which is pretty cool. And I like Deliver Me as well, and Straight Into Darkness is quite good. Darkness on Its Own is a song titled by The Police from 1981's Ghost in the Machine. It's also a song titled by Peter Gabriel from 2002's Up. And it's also a song titled by Aerosmith from 1985's Done with Mirrors, and also a song titled by Leonard Cohen from 2012's Old Ideas. And Between Two Worlds is a great song, and Two Worlds is like saying Two Worlds, One Family, which was a song titled by Phil Collins, which he did for the Tarzan soundtrack. That's why Tarzan is definitely my top 10 favourite Disney movies of all time. Because what's my favourite? Do I need to say it again? I don't need to, because you guys know my favourite Disney movie at this stage. And then there's The Same Old You, which is like saying The Same Old Song and Dance, which was a song which is the opening track from 1974's Aerosmith record, Get Your Wings. And yeah, I love this whole record. My least favorite, I don't really have a least favorite on this album. They're all songs are really good. And I would give this record a 10 out of 10. Even though not many people care for that record that much. Anyway, 1985, Southern Accents. Another great, excellent album, and this was produced by Dave Stewart from Eurythmics, who also appeared in the video to Bob Dylan's When the Night Comes Falling from the Sky, from 1985's Empire Burlesque. And Stu Kimball, who is currently in Bob Dylan's band, plays on that song. And Dave Stewart is a fan of Bob Dylan and Tom Petty, and he's also a Stevie Nicks fan as well, and I think he's also a Queen fan as well. And I do think the Eurythmics are a very good group, and at least Dave Stewart got to produce this record. So let's see, my favourite song on this album is Rebels, and Rebel is also a song titled by Aladdin on his 1985 record Under Raging Moon, and he just sustained it. And once again, there goes my Hoover. And Don't Come Around Here No More is also a good song as well, and it's also it's like saying, seems like there ain't nobody wants to come around here no more, which was in Bruce Springsteen's My Hometown, which is from Born USA. And the title track, Southern Accents, is such a beautiful song, and he sings it, and Tom Petty sings it melodically. And then, I like Dogs on the Run as well. Dogs on its own is a song titled by Pink Floyd from 1977's Animals. And On the Run is also a Pink Floyd song as well from Dark Side of the Moon in 1973. And it's also a song titled by Electric Light Orchestra from 1979's Discovery. And Mary's New Car is quite good as well. And with New Car, you could say like maybe Brand New Car, which is a song titled by the Rolling Stones from 1994's Voodoo Lounge. And also maybe Brand New Cadillac, which is a song titled by The Clash from 1979's London Calling. And for my least favourite is probably Spike. But still, I would give this record a 9 out of 10. And then around that time, the Heartbreakers, particularly Mike Campbell, Ben Montench, and Howie Epstein, they all did session work on Bob Dylan's Empire Burlesque. And then they toured with Bob Dylan as well, and the Hard to Handle concert is so amazing, particularly Like a Rolling Stone. And they also appeared on Bob Dylan's Knocked Out Loaded as well. Now, the only album I'm missing at the moment is Let Me Up, I've Had Enough from 1987, but I had heard some samples online, and I do like the song Jamming Me, and I think it was co-written by Bob Dylan as well. And then, of course, in 1988, Tom Petty, with Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Jack London and Roy Orbison, joined the Travelling Wilburys. And I'll just quickly throw that one album in there as an exception. Well, just for Tom Petty, I like Last Night, and Last Night is basically like saying The Last Child, which is a song titled by Aerosmith from 1976's Rocks. And then with Last Night, you could say Last Night on Earth, which is a song titled by U2 from 1997's Pop. But I do like, of course, his bridge part in, the verses that Tom Petty sings on in End of the Line. And End of the Line is a song titled by Roxy Music from 1975's Siren. And I do like a lot of the other songs on that album as well. And yeah, that's pretty good. So then we get 1989, Full Moon Fever. What a record this is. And of course, my favourite song on this is Free Fallin'. And lately, Stevie Nicks actually does a cover. Fleetwood Mac actually covered that on the 1 year anniversary of Petty's death. And Mike Campbell now currently tours in Fleetwood Mac. And Mike Campbell and Jeff Lynne are the main performers on this record. Everyone but Stan Lynch of the Heartbreakers played on this record. And he said that there were some songs on the album that he just didn't like. Let's see. I like Free Fallin', that's just great. And then Won't Back Down is so great. And Won't Back Down features George Harrison on guitar and Howie Epstein. Then Love is a Long Road is just an amazing tune. And I somewhat like Facing the Crowd. And Running Down a Dream is just great. And it was also the documentary name of Petty's career up until about 2006, I believe. And I do like the cover of the Byrds song Feel a Whole Lot Better. And it's such a great tune. You're So Bad is quite good. And Bad on Its Own is a song titled by U2 from 1984's The Unforgettable Fire. And also a song titled by Michael Jackson from 1987's Bad. Just spoiled it there. I like the Apartment song as well. And A Mind with a Heart of Its Own is so great. And once again, there goes my Hoover. And my least favourite on here is probably All Right For Now. And basically All Right Now is like saying All Right Now, which is a song titled by Free from 1970's Fire and Water. And yeah, I used to not care for Zombie Zoo, but I kind of like it now. And I give this record a 10 out of 10. Because it's a great record. And then in 1990, there was Travelling Wilburys Volume 3, and I like The Devil's Been Busy, which Tom Petty sings on, but I do like You Took My Breath Away and maybe Cool Dry Place. Because all the songs that Petty sings on are great. And he also sings on a bit of She's My Baby. And it features Gary Moore on the guitar as well, because Roy Orbison's not on the second Wilburys album because he died, which was very sad. Okay, we're almost done. We have 1991, Into the Great Wide Open. Another fantastic album, and the album cover is very similar to a children's cartoon like on Leo Sayre's Just a Boy. I mean, Learning to Fly is just a great song, and it's also a song titled by Pink Floyd from 1987's A Momentary Lapse of Reason. And it's also a song titled by, it's also like saying Further to Fly, which is a song titled by Paul Simon from 1990's Rhythm of the Saints. And We're Even Expecting to Fly by Buffalo Springfield, which I think is on... Actually, hold on, I'm going to look at my Buffalo Springfield albums just for a second. Sorry if my ass is showing. Let's see, it's not on this record. It's not on the first album. I think it's on the second album. Let me just check. Yeah, it's on the second album. Buffalo Springfield again. Sorry about that. And yeah, so just a great song that is. And Bob Dylan covered that in a 2017 concert to remember Tom Petty. So yeah, it's my favourite song. Actually, there's a good few favourites I have on here. I'll tell you which ones they are in a moment. But sorry about that, I just had to burp. King's Highway is so great, and Highway on its own is a song titled by Free. Free from 1970. And maybe that's saying Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. And from 1964, side 5 even, I made a mistake. And then, or even Highway Patrolman by Bruce Springsteen from 1982's Nebraska. Or even Highway to Hell by AC/DC as well. Which once again, I did a video saying goodbye AC/DC because of them being very satanic. Because they are a very satanic band, and probably the most satanic band in the world. And then, or even Highway for Fools, which is a song titled by Barclay James Harvest from 1981's Turn of the Tide. Yeah, and the title track, Into the Great Wide Open, is so great. And once again, the other track I love most on here is Two Gunslingers, because it's such a great song. The Dark of the Sun is so great. All or Nothing is also amazing, and All or Nothing is like saying All or Nothing at All, which is a song titled by Bruce Springsteen on 1992's Human Touch, and also by Bob Dylan on 2016's Fallen Angels. And then, and speaking of which, Bob Dylan is bringing out a new bootleg box set, which is the outtakes of Blood on the Tracks. Then, I like All the Wrong Reasons, and basically it's like saying I think it's like saying All the Right Reasons by Status Quo. Let me just check. Because I know it's on 1972's Power Driver, and then for the 6th time, There Goes My Hoover. No, sorry, All the Reasons, actually, by Status Quo on Power Driver. Too Good to Be True is so great. Out in the Cold is so amazing. And the one track that is absolutely my favourite on here is probably You and I Will Meet Again. You and I is a song titled by Queen on 1976's A Day of the Races. And also by Yes on 1972's Close to the Edge. Making Some Noise is so great, and I also love Built to Last. And Built to Last is also an album titled by The Grateful Dead from 1989, and it was this recent same year when they did A Dylan and the Dead with Bob Dylan, of course. I don't really have a least favourite on here, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to go for Too Good to Be True. And Be True on its own is a song titled by Bruce Springsteen, recorded during the River Sessions, and the first time I heard that was on the bootleg Bruce Springsteen of Roses and Broken Hearts from the Tunnel of Love Express tour. And it was a great cover. I think it's better than the studio version, in my opinion. So yeah, I give this record a 10 out of 10. And then in 1992, they appeared for the Bob Dylan 30th anniversary concert. And then in 1993, they did Mary Jane's Last Dance for a Greatest Hits compilation. And then to finally finish off here with Tom Petty, we have 1994, Wildflowers. So yeah, I know Stan Lynch left the band at this time, but I'll count this album as an exception. Okay. I like the title track Wildflowers, and Wildflowers is like saying Wild Horses, which is a song titled by the Rolling Stones from 1971's Sticky Fingers, featuring Mick Taylor as in the band for the first time, who again appeared on Bob Dylan and Infidels, and some of the tracks on Empire Burlesque, and of course on Real Live as well by Bob Dylan. And with Wildflowers, we can also say Dead Flowers which is also a Rolling Stone song from the same record. Hold on, I'm just going to get Sticky Fingers out for you just to be sure. Just put it back there. And then there's the track listing: Wild Horses, Dead Flowers. Very cool. I mean, Sticky Fingers is one of my favorite Rolling Stones albums. I love the hit single You Don't Know How It Feels, which is just amazing. Time to Move On is also really good. Move On is a song titled by David Bowie from 1979's Lodger, and also by Paul Stanley on his 1978 solo Kiss album, which again is my favourite of the four, and I don't get to check out the video for that. And It's Good to Be King is so great, and there's a bit of a similar title of Just Can't Wait to Be King, which is a song in the Lion King movie. And Only a Broken Heart, which is a bit like saying Owner of a Lonely Heart, which was a song titled by Yes from 1983's 90125. Honey Bee, I think, is also good, and Honey Bee is like saying I'm a King Bee, which was a Muddy Waters song but covered by the Rolling Stones on 1964's England's Newest Hitmakers. And then I do like Crawling Back to You as well, and it's like saying Coming Back to You, which is a song titled by Leonard Cohen from 1984's Various Positions. And then with Wake Up Time, it's basically like saying Wake Up Call, which is a song titled by Phil Collins from 2002's Testify. And it's the opening track as well. And I already don't need to reference the time in there as well, but I know it's an album titled by ELO, and it's also a song titled by David Bowie on 1973's Aladdin Sane. Once again, best David Bowie album because it mentions Aladdin, the greatest musician of all time and lead singer of legendary rock band AHSW. And I mean, the whole record is pretty good. If I had to pick a least favorite, I'm going to go for Don't Fade on Me. And it's basically a bit like saying This Weight on Me, which is a song titled by Krista Berg from 1994's This Way Up. And this album was actually produced by Tom Petty and Mike Campbell and also Rick Rubin as well. And what made him become a big Tom Petty fan was the Full Moon Fever record. Because that album basically gets a lot of people into Tom Petty, like it did to me. Like, particularly with Free Falling and Won't Back Down. Because that's the thing, Full Moon Fever is the Tom Petty album you have to start with in my mind. And for some reason, Ringo from the Ringo Starr appears on some of these songs as well. Because I know Stan Lynch didn't play on this record, but this album was kind of in memory of his departure. And I felt, if I was alive back then, I would have felt very sad for Stan Lynch leaving the band, because he was a very good drummer, and he was giving his ass in the band as well. Like, he was so great. And he actually went on to tour with the Eagles as well, which I thought was pretty amazing. And so yeah, I give this record a 9 out of 10. Okay, so that's it. That's my partial Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers discography. And I would love your thoughts on Tom Petty's discography. And if you like some of the albums after that, like for example, Songs and Music from She's the One, let me know. And maybe I might buy it. And maybe Echo as well. I might buy maybe the first few after that, because maybe of Howie Epstein in the band. Because then, of course, they got Scott Thurston, who was a who was a multi-instrumentalist as well. And then, of course, there have been other people as well. And then, of course, Howie Epstein died in 2002. And there was also, and then Ron Blair had, of course, come back to the band after coming out of retirement from the music business as well. So yeah, I seriously cannot believe that it's been 1 year since Tom Petty has left us. He was definitely one of my main music heroes, but he's not in the first bunch, he's in the second bunch, with the other guys who I mentioned on in the video. And I have so many memories of him as well. And he was just amazing. Like, when you look at some of those amazing musicians, you just know that Tom Petty was one of them, and he was definitely one of the greatest songwriters in the world. And of course, he was in that Simpsons episode called How I Spent My Strummer Vacation, which featured Mick Jagger and Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, Elvis Costello, and featured Lenny Kravitz, and even, who else did it feature? It featured Brian Setzer from Stray Cats. Because once again, Homer as the man on guitar, and lead guitar player of AHSW, which is great. Anyway, so yeah, I'll let you go now, because I'm going to be going out shortly. And stay tuned for this weekend, either, I think maybe tomorrow, for another food review, maybe for French fancies. I'm not so sure, or maybe I might review a bag of sweets or something. I don't know. It'll be one of those two. If not, I might save the French fancies for next weekend. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Take care, and bye-bye, and R.I.P. Tom Petty. Gone but never forgotten. Can't believe it's been a year already since you left us. Bye.